And global regulators are in a race to get a handle on artificial intelligence, but building laws that protect citizens from the risks while encouraging innovation is a hard balance to strike for sure. EU has taken the lead here, as it has on other tech-focused regulation, creating an AI-specific law banning certain technology like facial recognition and enforcing that generative AI systems like ChatGPT have to be reviewed before commercial release. The U.S. is further behind as lawmakers still seek input on regulation, and the White House unveiled its blueprint on AI. So with rules coming, what can you expect? Joining us now is CRDO AI, Navrina Singh. Navrina, let's start there with regulation, because the EU does have this proposed law to regulate AI. You're very involved in this sector. You know a lot of the players. Navrina, how are companies thinking about navigating that new law?
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. CRDO AI is a leading authority on AI governance, risk management, and compliance. So since our founding, we've been extremely focused on making sure that AI is always in service of humanity. So as you can imagine, with these upcoming regulations, and I do want to specify that EU AI Act is still not passed, it's being debated, and we are looking to European Commission to pass that end of this year. So with this impending law, you can imagine these companies right now are making sure that they have the foundational pieces in place, whether it is assessing risk management frameworks within the organizations or making sure that they have a handle on where they're actually using AI versus not using AI. So long road ahead, but I'm excited to see the work that enterprises are already putting in place.
Navrina, one criticism I've read about the EU law, and I'd love to get your take on it, is that some are saying it kind of benefits those companies who have the money, the cash, the resources to cover the costs of compliance, while disadvantaging the smaller players. Do you agree with that criticism? Is it fair?
You know, Josh, with any regulation, the narrative that we've always held in the marketplace is, regulations and compliance is cumbersome. And I think this is the moment in time, especially for artificial intelligence, we all have an opportunity to change that narrative. With EU AI Act, yes, absolutely. There's a lot of critical requirements around transparency, risk management, making sure that you're actually registering AI applications in Europe. But as you can imagine, companies like CRDO AI are existing to actually make it less burdensome and change compliance to a competitive advantage, especially for SMBs and startups. And that is a critical focus for us here at CRDO AI, because in this age of artificial intelligence, companies that embrace governance are going to actually emerge as leaders.
Hi, Navrina, it's Julie here. So I guess what I'm not understanding is what is already regulated. Like the companies that are coming to you and saying, what do I need? What compliance do I need? What is the biggest thing that they need to do? Because rules haven't actually been put in place yet, have they?
Great question, Julie. And I think this is where there's a lot of noise in the ecosystem. We actually already have existing regulations that apply to machine learning and artificial intelligence. For example, New York put in place something called as New York City Law number 144 that went into effect this July that already regulates machine learning-based HR systems. In addition, fair credit reporting has existed for years that still applies to machine learning and artificial intelligence. I think the shift that is happening in the AI ecosystem is, one, the consumer is getting more educated. So when there is an AI application that impacts the end user, whether it is for healthcare, whether it is for employment, whether it is for education, there is an uprising around need for transparency. Where AI is used, how is it being developed, who is testing it, how are there's going to be rollback plans in case things don't, work as planned in production. So I would say that there's a consumer uprising, and also there is much more focused AI regulation that is emerging, and that's what's causing the shift right now. But I do want to underscore, Julie, there's already a lot of regulation that applies to machine learning and AI that companies are already trying to adhere to.
That is good to know, Navrina. I also want to mention a study that I know that you are aware of as well from the AI Policy Institute that, for lack of a better word, reflects the sort of that people are freaked out about AI, right? 72% of American voters want to slow down the development of the technology, and 82% don't trust AI companies to self-regulate. So obviously there's some urgency on this. When it comes to regulation on a federal level or on an EU-wide level, what's most important and what's most urgent? Is it the transparency you're talking about needs to be enshrined, or is there something else?
No, that's a great question, Julie. And this is where, I would say Europe's approach versus United States approach has been very different. I think irrespective of where the regulations are emerging, we at Credo AI believe that there are certain core tenets. And as you articulated, transparency is really important to not only understand the capabilities, but also risk of these systems and where they should and should not be used. Similarly, there needs to be complete view into where human oversight is needed. And as you can imagine, especially for these very powerful foundation models, human oversight is going to be critical to make sure that we are putting in place the right accountability. And then lastly, as you can imagine, there's a lack of evaluation standards, especially for foundation models and generative AI. So how can we put in place the right, robust evaluation standards that can make sure that that accountability actually happens is really critical. And just to close it out, voluntary commitments are something that we've seen emerge quite extensively in this market, but they don't serve the purpose. We've seen they lack impact, and more importantly, there's no benchmark to hold companies accountable to those voluntary standards. And that's why I truly believe that regulations and more stricter guardrails are going to be necessary to really reap the benefits of this powerful technology.
Yeah, Congress and regulators broadly have to get their act together on this. Navrina, thank you so much for joining us with your perspective. Navrina Singh, founder and CEO of Credo AI. Thanks.